They had intelligence that the Russians believed that this Russiagate stuff was all Hillary just making crap up in order to protect herself and make it harder to put her in jail. Well, speaking of transparency, we have this new important case that we filed against the FBI. Actually, we technically filed it against the Justice Department, and because they don't want, the FBI doesn't like people to remember this, but the FBI is not a separate agency for the Justice Department, legally speaking, because you can't sue the FBI, you sue the Justice Department to get FBI records. And Dan Bongino, who's the Deputy Director of the FBI, and Kash Patel have been talking about the fact that they uncovered that there were documents in burn bags that were placed in a secret room that no one knew about that contained potentially key information related to the various lawfare and abuses of power and the cover-ups related to the Clintons, the Russiagate, et cetera, et cetera. And some of that material has been released, I think. So some of that may be in the Arctic Frost material or memos that I've talked about previously here on this program, but not all of them. And once again, this is an example of Judicial Watch suing or asking for core information that two senior leaders of the FBI are talking about, and they just simply ignore our request. And this is what Dan Bongino wrote in a X post about a Fox News interview. Let's go to the post. We can bring that up and see what Dan wrote. The FBI just discovered that James Comey had a whole room of secret documents. We found it in bags hiding under Jim Comey's FBI. You're going to be stunned. Well, it looks like those bags are actually Ray's FBI. And this is what he said on that broadcast. Well, maybe I'll just play it. Why don't I just play it? It's only a minute, right?
Luckily, there
to the beginning,
the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building? Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, okay, how does that happen in the Bureau?
Well, we were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. You know, we need to talk. There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room?
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least, and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some is other intelligence agencies. It's not, we literally can't do it. Once that gets done and that gets out there and you read some of the stuff we found that, by the way, was not processed through the normal procedure, digitizing it, putting in FBI records, we found it in bags hiding under Jim Comey's FBI. Quickly, you're going to be stunned.
The shells. So there you have it. So what's in the burn bags, right? So Dan made those statements on or about, as the lawyers say, May 29th. We filed a request for the records on June 2nd. And again, we got the hand to the face from the FBI. They said, we got your request. Oh, by the way, here's the number so you can track it. And it's been radio silent since. We asked for all documents referenced by Deputy Director Dan Bongino as having been discovered in a room hidden from us and not mentioned to us, discussed in that interview I highlighted for you. All internal FBI communications among officials in the offices of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino related to the discovery, All directives sent to officials in the offices of the director and deputy director regarding the handling and disposition of documents. So give us the documents, right? And give us documents about your handling of the documents. Straightforward FOIA request. They have ignored us. We've had to sue Kash Patel's and Dan Bongino's FBI for hiding records that they say was evidence of remarkable corruption, which I agree with. I don't agree with the withholding, but I agree with their analysis. And since we had asked, we just based our request on on a news interview, right? They're just talking. So sometimes it's kind of tough to construct a request around that. But in the course of the Comey prosecution for his alleged perjury, there was the following disclosure. It's Exhibit 12. You can find it online. I just printed it out. I don't have a link to it. And it's Exhibit 12 in a court file from November 3rd, 2025. I'm pretty sure it's in the Comey case. The great thing about the internet now is that all these cases that you hear about and reading and learn about online, it used to be you had to rely on the left media to disclose to you what they say, what filings say and such. And when it comes to filings involving conservatives or the Trump administration, whatever, you obviously can't trust them. And it's usually a lot more interesting what's in the documents than what the media discloses, especially given their craven bias and ideological hatred and hostility to anything conservative and certainly anything that triggers their Trump derangement system. So I encourage you to go online and look at these dockets. They're widely available. You can go to a website like Court Listener, and you can do USA versus Comey, for instance. Type that in, it'll pop up, and you can see the entire docket and generally what's available publicly. So it's just great. That's what I did. Well, maybe I did I did this. I went over to Court Listener and pulled down this exhibit. And I thought it was very interesting in light of Dan's specific comments a few months ago. So this filing documents a memo from by the FBI, an electronic communication from July 21st, 2025, so about a week before Dan was on TV talking about it. So to sum up, they basically found out about this room. And I want to read you the portion of the document that describes in part, or itemizes, it looks like in part, what they found in the room. Okay, so here it is. Among the records found were many related to the FBI's Mar-a-Lago search. So the raid on Trump's home that was unprecedented and abusive beyond all measure. The January 6th Capitol breach. The Crossfire Hurricane investigation, which was the Russia scam, trying to destroy Trump through prosecution and impeachment, as well as a copy of the classified appendix to the John Durham Special Counsel investigation, which was recently declassified, in part, which showed additional outrageous conduct by Brennan and company in terms of height of essentially disclosing that he lied over whether or not he supported putting in fake information about Russiagate in an intelligence assessment that was widely distributed in order to destroy Trump. What else? Moreover, an additional record discovered as part of this management review process, so they did a kind of a review process, and long story short is they found these records, was an original referral by the Central Intelligence Agency to former Director James Comey, known as a counterintelligence operational lead. This counterintelligence operational lead is believed to have been missing for several years and was dated September 7th, 2016, and contains certain intelligence related to the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign. The CIOL, the Counterintelligence Operational Lead, was found in a storage closet adjacent to the director's office and was subsequently transported to the 9582 SCIF. Director Comey previously testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee that he was unfamiliar with this document as well as its related intelligence. So it looks like this material was placed in this room around the time Trump was coming into office again. And that reference to that document, I believe, if I recall correctly, is about the fact that they all knew that they had significant intelligence that Hillary was making up the Russiagate scandal allegations against Trump in order to distract from her email corruption. Now, it was obvious to anyone with a brain that that was going on as it was happening, but you'd be surprised not many people have brains here in Washington, D.C., so it was probably just Judicial Watch calling attention to it at the time, as I recall. But they had intelligence that the Russians believed that this Russiagate stuff was all Hillary just making crap up in order to protect herself and make it harder to put her in jail. So this is pretty hot stuff, and it's been hidden from the American people. Some of it has been disclosed, as I suggested, but not all of it, and we don't know what else is in there. And that's why we filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit to get the full truth and to get a full accountability or fuller accountability on all of these issues. The raid of Mar-a-Lago, et cetera, et cetera. Russiagate. We asked for these records back, as I said, in June. It's now almost December, coming on Thanksgiving, and nary a peep from the FBI in turning this information over to us. And I don't think there's any good excuse for it. I don't. They certainly have the capacity. And when they say they don't, they're not being honest. When it comes to disclosure, the government, and practically speaking, the federal government has infinite capacity to disclose information. It's just a matter of political will to get it done. And if President Trump is watching this, he should ask and demand that everything that can be released under law be released. Err on the side of transparency. Full transparency, maximum transparency. Go on a transparency tear on all of this. Because as I've noted earlier, I'm concerned that it's getting too late in the day to do significant prosecutions on this. I'm not seeing evidence that it's being done. Is it possible it will be done? Maybe. But they've got these basic cases against Comey and such that have kind of been disrupted by deep state anti-Trump actors embedded or just kind of establishment types who just don't want to do anything on this. So even these basic prosecutions on Comey perjury, I mean, all you need is one anti-Trump judge or magistrate in the case of Comey, and the case gets blown up. And it's a simple perjury case. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And these are much more complicated issues I'm talking about with the attacks on Trump and other American citizens using this lawfare to try to ensure Trump doesn't get into office and destroy his life, his business, and worse. And so where the FBI fails and where the Justice Department fails is on transparency about these issues. And I'm sorry, you can't tell me, trust me. Now, I may personally trust individuals, but institutionally, I don't trust anyone in the government. when it comes to transparency on matters like this. I just don't. And even if we did, we'd still sue just to ensure that we reserve our rights and get all the information that they can get it to us. So I'll let you know if we get anything else. But I mean, it's just one of probably dozens of lawsuits on the lawfare targeting Trump. And you may not want to hear this, but largely the Trump administration under the Justice Department has been no more transparent than the Biden administration. It's true. Now, there has been additional transparency to Congress, but under FOIA, it's as bad as it's ever been. And that's just disappointing, to put it mildly. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.